Good evening everybody and welcome to round 5 of Trinity Competitive Racing. We're here at Silverstone today for the Golden Class Grand Prix. I'm joined in the booth this evening by Broom Handle. We're excited to take you through this Grand Prix as qualifying has just started. So good evening Broom, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, thank you so much for asking. Yeah, it's looking to be a phenomenal race here today here at the British Grand Prix. Of course, a phenomenal track. Really looking forward to see some great driving out there today.
Perfect. So we've got everyone's out the pits early looking to get in that first time on the board. We have the short qualifying session today followed by a 50% race. Silverstone is a high-speed track, most of the lap taken at full throttle, very few points, very few heavy braking zones, and even few areas for the drivers to really make their mark. So mistakes are really punished here today, and it, you know, at high speed it's very easy to lose the car at any of these turns. So it's going to be interesting to follow on board, especially in this qualifying session, and see who can ride that knife edge the most and get the most out of the lap time, as there's yellow flags already. So Chargers has just started his lap. I'm going to ride on board with him here and he can take us round for the first hot lap of Silverstone today. So Broom Handle, we'll give everyone a rundown of the Golden Class and who are our top picks for today. And so, as you were saying before we went on stream today, you know a lot of these drivers in person. Who are your favourites and who are your ones to watch here today?
Well, we have a lot of talented drivers out there. Of course, like you said, I know a lot of these drivers, know a lot of their paces and all that sort of thing. And looking back at Golden Class throughout these few runs that we've had, it's really close in the championship as well, with so many talented drivers out there. I know, of course, Intent, a driver that has been in many leagues, has been commentating on race as well. He's been really having a hard struggle in Gold Class, but we know he's got some pace. I do believe he has a good setup around here at the British Grand Prix, so he's one to watch out for. Stanley as well, I do believe he's making an entrance into Gold Class now. He's a great driver to watch as well, especially around the British Grand Prix. He's always been very competitive. And then, I mean, like Flying Jippo leading the championship right now with 64 points for Red Bull. He's looking really strong as well. So drivers like that, I think it's going to be really interesting to see how this plays out for our talented drivers out there today. I'm really looking for a great Grand Prix going forward.
Yeah, so first lap times across the board, pretty competitive in the low 25s so far. I think we'll be looking towards the low 24s. We'll see if anyone can crack the 123s here today. Very quick drivers in this lobby today. So we will just run through the overall driver stand-ins for everybody while these first laps are set here on the board. So top of the Drivers' Championship we have Flying Jippo with 64 points. Bam Bam follows him closely, and Segrist tied on 53 points. Achio is on 51, Arrowfist Zen sits at 34 points, M9H Racing with 32 points. Intent, as we said, incredibly quick. He won our first Grand Prix this season, but has yet to score points in the following races, so he sits at 25. And below them then we've got Red Wing, D'Angelo and Chargers on 16 points, tied on 16 points. So a lot to play for today. As everybody has finished now their first runs pretty much, bar TCR Jones, who's yet to set a lap time. Flying Jippo not out of the pits yet, so that's interesting to see. Let's talk strategy here while we wait. Everybody seems to be on their cool down laps now before they're going to come back out on a new set of tyres. It's an easy one-stop strategy. I'm pretty sure most guys are going to be going to soft to medium. But if there is a bit of an early safety car, those hards can go on. They can do a long stint in this race. And everybody is in the pits at the moment.
Yeah, you're saying about strategy real quick. I'm just going to quickly add on here. Yeah, strategies are something that we got to look out for. I mean, like one-stop strategy. You're saying those hard tires can go for quite a bit longer in the race. I'm really looking for that one-stop strategy. Do you think also softs to mediums could be a good strategy as well? Maybe that could be somewhere we could put in like soft mediums, maybe pit around like lap 12 when you put in those softs and pit for the mediums.
Yeah, so I'm practicing for the Platinum class tomorrow. We're doing a 100% race, but it does seem pretty manageable from the soft to the medium. It doesn't seem like there's too much degradation on the tires, and you know, not too many heavy traction zones around this Silverstone circuit, so you can really, if you're smart, look after the tires, not put too much heat, not put too much energy in them, and you can really stretch out those stints. And I think I would be surprised, and now maybe I'm just way off on my practice runs, and a few lockups into the race will change your strategy, but I would be expecting a lot of people to try that soft to medium today.
Well, I definitely think that's going to be a very good strategy, going softs to mediums, because I mean, like, as you said, that's probably most of the dominant strategy. Drivers could go for the soft hards as well. That's an opportunity as well. So we're looking forward to seeing that. And going into this British Grand Prix, of course, 26 laps, I do believe. This 50% race. So really looking forward to see who's going to pick that strategy. Are they going to push the tires? Are they going to conserve the tires? Maybe go, if they push the tires, they'll probably go to hards. Or if they can serve, they'll probably go to the medium tires. So we'll have to see how that works out. But yeah.
Yeah, and an ill-timed safety car can just totally ruin your strategy too. So it's all well and good to sit here and talk strategy, but it all depends on how that first stint plays out. But I do expect, obviously, we're going to see most people qualify on the soft tire. I don't think the mediums have the pace to make it into the top 10. I'm flying now. I'm flying Jippos. He seems to be one of the few drivers out on a hot lap at the minute.
He is, I mean, of course, leading the championship.
Oh, and he loses it in turn 2 or turn 3.
That's a hard corner to good right, so I'm not astonished that he did lose it there. So hopefully he can go back out though.
Yeah, I'm wondering if he was just slightly put off by the AlphaTauri in front of him. Any bit of it's such a slippery spot there. It's very easy to lose the back end, especially as you're trying to get power down early, and even the smallest amount of dirty air can really unsettle the car. Dirty air is so much more prominent in this game. So at the minute, nobody seems to be out on a hot lap. Flying Jippo obviously has had to abandon his lap. He may be able to save those tires and go out and do another run on them, as he didn't really begin to push. But I wouldn't be surprised if he just comes in and puts on a fresh set and straight back out. TCR Jones, I think, is next across the line to start a flying lap, so we're right on board with him here. Takes turn 1 very tight. Turn 2 is, you don't even notice it. Heavy braking zone, and you really want to hit a late apex here early on the power. Nice and smooth, avoiding the mistake Flying Jippo made and spinning out there. Easy on the curbs. We are running regular corner cutting here for Silverstone. Something that I think the stewards have done a brilliant job with. It really adds to the racing. None of us here are professionals. None of us here, you know, unfortunately, as much as some of us would like to think so, are able to be that accurate with the car that consistently. So it just gives us a small margin of error. It's one that the real F1 drivers get to use anyway, so on the side of being realistic and to promote a bit better racing and a bit more aggressive racing, which is what we want to see our drivers do, is be aggressive. I think it's been a great call from the stewards this season, as there was obviously a lot of talk pre-season about it. I'm interested to get your opinion on the track limits broom. Do you see it as a positive move, or, I mean, there is definitely something to be said for the strict and really pushing the limits.
Well, yeah, I think the strict and the regular corner cutting is something to definitely consider. Of course, like you said, TCR, they brought in regular corner cutting for this season. So, in my opinion, I feel that is the right decision because the strict corner cutting is a little too strict, going a little bit too wide, and you can just get a valid lap time, and that's something that drivers in real life don't even do. So, I mean, I personally like the regular corner cutting, but also strict could be good as well in certain tracks. It kind of just depends on the track itself. But yeah, I personally like the regular corner cutting, and I think a lot of drivers do as well. So really looking forward to see how these guys can manage that regular corner cutting. Because if you do go wide, stewards are looking out for that. So yeah, something to definitely consider for when these drivers want to go wide. They can get regular corner cutting. They can get a penalty for that. So I'm glad that the stewards are watching that. And because I mean, the strict corner cutting, like I said, is a little bit too strict, and that might play a big role in getting these guys penalties and mixing up the results by the end of it. So I think it's less of a hassle to put in regular corner cutting.
Yeah, and I think once we've all signed on and we choose to respect, you know, the rules that the stewards have put out for us, I find it affects your driving style, and it affects the outcome of the race. so little, and I don't think we've seen any instances yet of anyone blatantly cutting a corner trying to gain advantage, because they know that they can't do it and get away with it. There will be penalties if they're caught. And I think most people know, and a lot of us upload our clips to YouTube anyway, so we're only going to be shooting ourselves in the foot if we do cut a corner and then end up uploading that clip later, or being caught out by someone else watching our stream. So yeah, I think it's been a great call. I think it's really improved some of the racing. Just from personal experience driving in it, it just means you can really concentrate on attacking and trying to get the most out of your car. Most of the time, if you cut the corner, if you run wide, you're going to lose time. So it doesn't seem like anything that anybody has, abused yet. So we'll say. So I think it's been great. But we're coming into now the final. People will be able to go out for one more run. Mr. Joshua, who's out on an outlap now, may be able to get this one in and one more, or if he messes up his next time lap, he will be able to dive into the pits. But it is getting to the time now where we might see a lot of guys just wait in the pits, wait for the track evolution to kick in, and they'll head out maybe with a couple of minutes left to go. So we've got a good grid so far. Seagreased is on pole at the minute with a 1:24.6. It's a very competitive time. Then we go to Arafit, Zen and Chargers. They're on 1:24.9. Fuzz and the 1:25 flat. Accio joins him. Stanley on a medium set of tyres, he set that lap on a medium set of tyres, a 1:25.1. So that is really good pace from Stanley, and that could be a great benefit of him starting on the mediums. I find, though, I'm not sure about you, Broom, when you're racing yourself, it can be a bit of a disadvantage. You get an awful slow getaway on those mediums. And on a start on an F1 grid, as soon as you fall out position, it's so easy for people around you just to overtake you. Once you're on that defensive line, you can get overtaken by 2-3 cars very quickly, and then it's a slippery slope from there. So I'm interested to get your take. Do you think, what is your opinion? Do you like to start on the hardest sets of tyres, or are you someone that likes to start on the softest compound if you're in the top 10?
Well, I think it's something to do with the circuit itself. Taking the mediums for this circuit, I think, is a good idea, because you go to the mediums and maybe go to the hards, or even stretch those mediums so long that you can go to the softs. That's actually a possibility around a circuit like this. If you go to a circuit that's a little bit different, like maybe Bahrain, I think it's also a good strategy of starting mediums and hards. Yeah, it's really interesting. I really like to do both at different times. I guess it just depends on the race itself. The competition as well is a big thing as well, because if you feel you got the pace, then I'd go in the medium tires. Of course, it depends on the circuit again, but I think go in the mediums. If you have the pace, go in the medium tires. Beat these guys if you're at a similar pace. So like Stanley, showing that he's got the pace of those medium tires against people around him that are on the softs. I think that's a great way to start on that strategy. Starting 7th, if he starts 7th, and starting those medium tires and go to the hards, maybe even softs, as I mentioned. That's probably the best strategy. But for me, I probably start on the mediums and then go to the hards.
So we're just getting a few comments in on the stream there that there's quite a bit of feedback on your mic. So I'm not sure if you have the stream playing in the background. If you could just maybe mute that, and I think that should fix that problem.
Yes, I actually was wondering if I could actually exit the party and come back. That might be something. I might be able to get back in and maybe that would fix that. I'm not sure if that would work though.
Yeah, if you want to do that. Usually those things, it's because if the stream is playing in the background, it's picking up, and then that's where the reverberation comes from. But if you want to try and leave the party, that's no problem. I'll stay here and you can join back in.
All right, I'll be right back, guys. Sorry about sorry for the viewers that I had the Zelda issue. So be back in a second.
So we're now in the final 2 minutes of qualifying. Pretty good session so far. Some pretty competitive times being put on the board. Stanley's going to hope that time is good enough to keep him in that top 7 spot. It'll be hard done. Bam Bam and Intent are going to be out looking to improve on their times. Accio and Ben Swerven all looking to dethrone Segrist, who sits on pole at the minute, and will have that very short getaway into turn 1 and to try and lead the pack away on lap 1 as well. But I'm going to ride on board here with Accio as he comes around to the penultimate corner and gets ready to start his flying lap. and Stanley has retired from the session. So Accio down into turn 1, flat out, kisses that curve, takes as much of it as he can. Now a heavy braking zone all the way down to third gear. Some choose to go down into second or first to get that extra rotation. Smooth on the power, short shift up the gears, make sure you don't lose traction. Again, cutting as much of that curb as he can. And now it's down the first DRS straight into Brooklands, late braking, even later apex. Smooth on the power and really throw the car into this corner. Take an incredibly late apex, you want to let the car drift wide so you can get on that power in a straight line pretty early. And now it's flat out all the way into the Brooklyn, the Cops and Chapel section. So now here, incredible corners. He gets very close. Oh, and that's it. He's lost it. So that means Accio will not qualify any better than P6. So let's see who is next to come. Buzz in P5, looking to improve his lap. So we missed the first couple of corners, but we'll see how he attacks the rest of this lap. Very nicely done, very smooth into this section here, where it's very easy to lose that back end. Get a little bit of eager onto the power and cause those wheels to spin, and that's game over. But looking good so far. Flat here. Not even thinking of lifting. Not even a confidence lift through there. And qualifying is finished. Segrist is still on pole. Everybody in the top 11 still, bar Stanley and Accio, yet to post their final time. It says Fuzz goes purple in Sector 2, but we do see that a lot. We've got a yellow flag in Sector 3, so let's hope that's nothing that's going to put him off. Late apex, smash the throttle down. Very hard to lose the car there. Try and hook this curve, get the car turned as quickly as possible, and flat across the line. And Fuzz goes P3 with the 124.7, so Intent moves up into P2 with the 124.4, and Segrist improved his time to solidify that P1 spot. And that seems to be qualifying finished, unless Mr. Joshua is on time, but he doesn't seem to be. Oh, he is. He's on a hot lap, so we'll stick on board with Joshua, see if he can't put himself in that top 10. A little bit wide here. Keeps it on the curb. We are allowing drivers to use all of that black and white curb here today. A little bit of a lock on the inside left, the front left. A little bit loose as he tries to, the car tries to squirm away, and he does not improve. So I'm just going to invite my co-com broom handle back into the party, so excuse the blue screen here for a minute, guys. And we're back. So we run down the grid for this Golden Class Grand Prix today. P1, we have Flying Jippo, who is our championship leader at the minute, so that is a great qualifying session for him as Broomhandle joins us back. Good to see you back. Segrist takes P2 and Intent in P3, all separated by 7/100ths of a second, so that's an incredible performance by the three of them. It's going to be super interesting to see how they get away and those early laps. Who knows, in Great Britain the rain is never too far away as well, so it's going to be an interesting battle. Our fifth Zen finishes the second row with the 124.7. Fuzz P5, Chargers P6, Ben Swerve in P7, Bam Bam P8, Accio P9, and Stanley P10. And Stanley will be starting on those medium tyres that he set that lap on in Q3. Are you there, Broom?
Yes, I am here. Apologies for everyone watching the stream that I wasn't here. There's a little bit of glitch on my side, but hopefully this is better. I switched mics as well, so that might be the issue. But yeah. Officially back, but yeah, really good qualifying I'm seeing here. A Flying Jippo on pole. What a lap he did too. And look how close that is between the top three.
So your mic is still reverbing. You're getting quite a bit of an echo there.
Sorry for everyone watching the stream.
The only thing I would suggest is if either maybe turn down your microphone a small bit, or if the stream is playing in the background, just mute the stream. Other than that, I'm not sure what it could be. But we are here, so Stanley, and we'll finish up the grid on the formation lap. So, Broom, are you still there? If you want to give it a quick try, I'll listen in and see if it's fixed.
Yes, I'm gonna try and mute myself. I think I'm gonna try something and see if this works.
So we are moments away from the start of the formation lap here. Looking to be a great race. A lot of competitive times set. We're just waiting now as everyone picks their strategy. If anybody is racing and has the time to let us know if there is any inclement weather inbound, that might be nice for us to know. Although sometimes the suspense of the dark clouds rolling in is great as well. So we'll take either way.
Looks like we're officially back now, so formation lap now. Oh, a lot of smoke coming off that Red Bull as well, very interesting.
Okay, so yeah, that unfortunately doesn't seem to have fixed the issue just yet. I'll let you keep tipping away at that. But we'll run down our grid here. So obviously Stanley starts in P10. He's the first to go on an alternate strategy. He's going to be starting on those mediums. TCR Jones in P11 starts on a set of softs. Joshua elects to go with the medium tyre. ISRL Knight on the softs. M9H Racing is the last of the medium runners. And then Gold Raider, RC7, Red Wing, You Having a Giggle Mate and McLaren all on the softs. Great to see 19 drivers here with us today. A nice full grid. Hopefully we won't get quite as many DNFs as we did last week. The tight streets of Singapore. We're a far cry away. We're in the wide open airfield of Silverstone. A lovely high speed, low downforce track. It's a track where the car makes a lot of the pace, and very few areas for the drivers to really, wrestle out that lap time. A lot of the corners are flat out or just that confidence lift. So you really do need to have a good setup under you, a setup that takes care of your tyres and that allows you to be comfortable in that car, and a car that isn't too loose on the back end. There are quite a few spots here where it is easy to spin those rear tyres and lose control of the car completely. So if you're there, Broomhandle, give us your top 3 predictions. Who are you predicting to sit on that podium today?
Oh, it's going to be a phenomenal grid when it comes to the end of this race. But yeah, oh my goodness. Top 3, let's think about this for a second. Ooh, I gotta say, I gotta go with Intent for the win here today. And then I gotta go with Flying Jippo in second. And then I'll go with Stanley in third. I mean, he's a fast driver. I've seen him do really good. I'm gonna go for something great like that.
Yeah, I think you could be right with Stanley. That was an incredible time he sat in the medium, so he definitely has the pace. Let's just hope now that if there's no safety cars, I think he'll be right up there with the Ale-Time safety car. He might just have the race stolen from him, but it could make it from either. I think I'm going to go Intent P1. He's had a tough go of it lately. Flying Jippo P2 and Bam Bam P3. But we're getting ready now for the lights. I'm going to stay at the top of the grid. If you want to stay a little bit further down, you can let us know if anyone spins out towards the back. But we now just wait for the 5 red lights to go off and we will be away. And it's a pretty decent start. Flying Jippo does get away a little bit slowly though, and it seems like Arafis Zen has a great run. He ends up in P4. Yeah, Intent all over the back of Flying Jippo, trying to get that move done early, as we see someone take up.
Contact. Mercedes off. Mercedes is spun.
And that's Bam Bam, my pick for that P3 and virtual safety car.
Yeah, looks like Bam Bam spun up turn 3. Maybe a contact. I actually didn't see that. I was focusing on something else. There was a McLaren that went down the inside in turn 3, so a lot of contact with a lot of drivers. But yeah. Yeah,
no damage, which is always good to see. So, he just needs to stay calm, make sure he works his way through the field efficiently, not get too much damage. As we were saying, you run low downforce here, so any bit of damage you do get to that wing really unsettles the car and really does lose you a lot of lap time around here. But everything apart from that is as you were. Let's see if anyone made up of any positions in that early getaway. And it is saying intent is P1. Intent is P1. So he got that just before the virtual safety car came out. He dove down the inside at turn 4, and this virtual safety car is over. Luckily, no speeding violations, so nobody is going to have that drive through, which we've seen a lot of so far. So it seems people are, and we have a yellow flag already.
That looks like an Alfa Romeo at the back of the field. Jones in the pits now. TCR Jones in the pits. Looks like he has damage.
Yeah, that would make me think that he had some sort of contact. And you did say that you saw a McLaren dive down the inside, so maybe it was TCR Jones who caused Bam Bam to spin out there. But other than
Stanley's
that,
also gone in the pits.
Stanley, RC7, and you having a giggle all into the pits, so all of them might have been involved in that early collision. And that's, we see it now. Those early pit stops are going onto the hard, so they're hoping to get as deep into this race as they can. Maybe hope for a late safety car that can bring them right back in it. But now they just have to get their head down, start putting in some good times, and see if they can't work themselves back into this race.
And Jippo's closing in on intent now. This is looking really good. It shows that Jones is in first place, but that is a glitch. It's happened quite a bit. But yeah, Flying Jippo closing in on intent. That might be a great battle. We also got Seacrest on this battle as well.
Yeah, so we do see the front three kind of breaking away, but Seacrest already has that 1.3 second gap now to Arifis, so if DRS becomes available on the next lap, Arifis will start to lose time to that front three, who, if they're smart, they can measure this out and pull away and win this race amongst the three of them in their second stint, as we have a yellow flag in sector 3. And that is Accio.
Sorry to interrupt. Yep.
No, absolutely. You see what happened?
No, it looks like he spun possibly at turn 15. I can't tell if he has damage. Let me look real quick. It doesn't look like he has damage, so possible spin on it. On that turn 15, you can get a lot of spinning action there. Because of course, you're turning so much, and of course, if you're on no traction completely, you can spin very easily. So it looks like he just may have spun. So hopefully he can get back up into the point very soon.
Yeah, especially earlier on, Accio, he's on the softs, but early on when you've got high fuel, low tire temperatures, just sometimes the grip isn't there that you're expecting and the car can get away from you. But M9H Racing now is making his way, he's on those mediums. As he runs into the back of Red Wing ever so slightly, he needs to be careful. But he is leading the medium charge runners, so if he can get past Red Wing and catch up to Gold Raider and start making his way up the field and eating some of that time that the front six are pulling away from him, he should be set for a very good race here, and Joshua isn't too far behind him. So these two guys, the only two left now on the medium runners who haven't pitted so far. So that unfortunately didn't work out too well for any of those guys who chose to go on the alternate strategy. As we see, Flying Jippo is moving up into P1. We missed that one around the outside of Cops.
Yeah, look at that. The top three are very close to each other. Very interesting to see that Flying Jippo has made that move on intent. So he got the pace, got the DRS. Of course, DRS was enabled. So he must have got past into turn 15. Intent now trying to get back past that Red Bull. And he also got Seacrest right behind him. So he's just waiting for those two to maybe make some contact or a mistake and just sweep in. Real quick, I just wanted to mention I did switch mics and try and test a few things out. So sorry about that. Just wanted to quickly mention that.
No worries. So I think we'll see quite a bit of swapping in the front three to begin with, as DRS is quite powerful around here. You've got long straights and fast corners leading up to them, so you can carry quite a bit of momentum and really make up a lot of time after these corners. But everyone's kind of settling into their gap. Arifis then is slowly dropping back from that front three. Hopefully though he can manage, maybe he's choosing to manage that tyre and go a little bit longer on those softs and hopefully have a bit of a fresher tyre advantage towards the end of this race. Other than that, Chargers now is closing up on Fuzz, who's another 2 seconds down the road from Arifis Sen, who Arifis Sen is in a race of his own at the minute, and I'm sure he won't mind that too much. Then we've got ISRL Knight, these three forming their own little train, all battling for P5. Then a little bit further down, Gold Raider, Seagrease and Intent are battling up front again around that second DRS zone, which quite powerful. It really invites the drivers to make a move into that high-speed corner, and it's a great place to do an overtake and hopefully cement it coming into the penultimate corner.
And it looks like Jones may have had it off at turn 7. That's left field, I do believe. Now coming in turn 8. So that's very interesting to see. That McLaren's not having a good time out there. And so the Alpha, too. Back at the field, 17th and 19th position. Both drivers have spun at turn 7 and turn 8.
And so Intent and Seagrease battling has allowed Flying Jippo to pull 2 seconds clear of Intent, which is not what either of them want to see, as we see Intent dive into the inside, allowing Seagrease around the outside. Oh, and a bit of contact. Yeah, that's not what either of them want. Hopefully they both got away with no damage. It does seem that they're both got all their front wings intact. And I think we'll see quite a lot of swapping between these two. They seem to have the pace of each other. So it's going to be interesting to see how they choose to fight that battle. Maybe a little bit more patience might be key for one of them. You know, you don't want to be losing your wing fighting for P2 on lap 5 and take yourself out the rest of the race.
The battle for 5th is continued. Look at this. We have now Knight actually closing in on these 3 drivers now that have joined the party. So the battle for 5th position is looking really tight. Well, we actually have that battle for 2nd continuing on versus Intent and Seagrease. And now Aerofist has now joined the party as well. So this is looking really mighty. Virtual safety car.
And McLaren is retired. And Ben Swerven is spun under the virtual safety car as well. Not sure where he is. So I'm going to ride on board with Stanley, see if we can't see where McLaren lost it here.
It looks like McLaren may have lost it at Maggots and Beckett. So you come into that. Looks like he may have done a Kvyat. Kvyat spun to that same turn 9, at whatever that, I think it was turn 11 or whatever. But it looks like he spun the other way. So McLaren P1 is out of the race. That turn right there, you can lose a lot of time and like spin out very easily. If you touch that curb beam, it's very hard. So unfortunately that he's out. It's unfortunate that he's out of the race.
Back to green flag racing now, and DRS of course enabled straight away after a virtual safety car, and Intent and Seagrease really battling here around Luffield. Intent gets a great run and he's up the inside of Seagrease, and now it's flat out now into the Maggot. Oh, and they're getting very, very feisty as Intent almost running into the wall here. Now they head to Maggots and Beckett's, and Seagrease needs to just buy his time, pick the right line behind Intent, get the run through, and it should be an easy DRS pass up into Cops. We'll see now, Intent does get a really good run, seems to be pulling away a small bit, and he tries to break that slipstream. Seagrease though, of course, with DRS so powerful, not using too much overtake, which is smart. I think he will just choose to sit behind. His Intent cuts a lot of grass there, so he's going to lose a lot of speed. Seagrease thinks about the move inside, but I think they will bide their time. Seagrease has an easy pass coming up at the DRS zone if he can stay behind. They are really losing time to Flying Jippo now, who is in a race of his own. He can really just manage those tyres, make sure he isn't overheating them, make sure they're not getting too much wear, and he is in a commanding position now for the rest of this race. All of this fighting has allowed Seagrease and Intent, has allowed Aerofist N to catch up to them now, and so the battle for P2 has an extra member now, and Chargers quickly gaining on them and inside that DRS zone now, where it just moves outside of it.
Yes, this 3-horse race for 2nd place may turn into a 5-horse race because Challengers and Fuzzlium is closing in. Both these guys are closing in on this battle, so while these Racing Point and Ferrari cars have been battling out, they've joined the battle, so that train is becoming longer and longer and longer. But very interesting to see that Seagrease is actually under pressure by Aerofist, so very interesting to see how that worked out. And like you said, Flying Jippo just trailing this away, leading this race in a mission to bring this home and extend his championship lead as championship leader so far in the championship. So a 5-second gap to Intent is very impressive.
Yeah, and that just shows how much time battling will lose you. If you have to run side by side into a corner, if you have to let out the throttle because you're behind someone, it just allows someone who has that clean air in front of them to really get their head down. And this is what I was alluding to earlier. If those two maybe had just worked together a little bit, they may have been able to keep Flying Jippo and build that 5-second gap to themselves, and then the three of them could have you know, fought it out for the podium at the end of the race. But you know, as racers, you never really want to see anyone go past you, and you definitely don't want to see them stay ahead of you for too long. So it's hard to blame them for wanting to race, and we definitely like to see them battling lap after lap.
Yes, this is phenomenal racing, of course, with these drivers, second, third, fourth, and now fifth and sixth possibly. And I mean, like, this is incredible racing, but they are losing a lot of time to Flying Jippo, so this is helping Flying Jippo out. But of course, like you said, we love to see this, so hopefully we can continue this out. I did want to quickly mention something real quick. I've been watching the ERS between Intent and Segrist. Intent is that, oh, Aerofist goes down the outside. And I just quickly wanted to mention something real quick, as Segrist is on 24% ERS, and he's losing a lot of time. I think he was catching so much to Intent and trying to keep ahead of Intent, trying to overtake Intent, that he drained all of his ERS, and now this is putting Aerofist in a comfortable position. And, oh, it almost forces him off the track. This is a battle for third now.
He wanted the inside line there, and he wasn't going to be denied. It was a very brave move. Segrist still around the outside of them there, side by side. Segrist holds on to the position. So as you see now, Intent is able to build out almost 2 seconds in a lap. So that just, it really does go to show you how much time is lost when you are going side by side, especially in these high speed corners where any slight bit of contact is going to ruin your race. Further down the order, Fuzz is sticking on the back of Chargers, who is just ever so slightly outside of the DRS zone, to Aerofist then. Obviously Segrist falling behind Intent. And it's funny that you mention, I've seen that a lot. ERS management has been so crucial in some of the races I've seen. I've seen people who seem to have the pace over someone ahead of them, but we know if you go below 10%, you are losing ERS, you are losing engine power. So it might be something to watch later on as we, you know, after the pit stops, who has that ERS to play with and who can make those overtakes stick, and then use their overtaking ERS advantage to break that slipstream and break that DRS chain. M9H Racing is phasing into this race nicely. He's on the back of Gold Raider now. I can't imagine it'll be too long before either Gold Raider comes into the pits or M9H Racing moves up into P7. I'm not sure about further down the pecking order, but I expect around lap 10 or 11 for those soft runners to come in, and then we'll see how the first portion of the race is shaken out, and how those guys who pitted early onto those hards, where they stack up, because I think if they're smart, they'll be able to take those hards to the end. It might not be the easiest task in the world, but if they can put up a good defensive drive, they may be points in there for them yet. And Chargers and Fuzz seem to be the first of the soft runners in now on lap 10.
That's probably what they're going to go for, is that hard tire that you were mentioning. So really interesting to see that they are choosing that strategy, especially considering they're 5th and 6th, so they're going for the undercut possibly.
Yeah, I think they are, and they are going onto the mediums, so they are going for the undercut. They're looking to get into that free air, maybe get onto the back of that front train, try and pick up some of that slipstream and pull them up into that podium battle. But to M9H Racing now, this is the portion of the race where he really needs to show the pace that he has in this car. He's going to have the clear air now on the mediums, and he's going to be on the quicker tire at the end. So if he can, you know, put in some quick laps now towards the end of his stint. Oh, and as I say that, he gets very loose around the field and almost loses the car. There is a McLaren, I think that's TCR Jones, who's being lapped, just allowing Gold Raider through. So that's allowed Gold Raider, and it means M9H Racing is outside of the DRS zone after Maggots and Beckett. So not what M9H Racing needed at this point of his Grand Prix. Aerofist now on the back of Segrist, so they go side by side, and that should be a pretty easy pass for Aerofist. Then Segrist runs behind him. Flying Jippo.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just saying, I was very surprised that Segrist, how slow he kind of was on that straightaway at the Hainer Straight. It looked like the Aerofist just blasted past him. I looked exactly why he was so slow. It's because that ERS management. He's wasted a lot of that ERS, so Aerofist was just able to fly past. But anyway, they've actually come into the pit lane for a new set of medium tires. That's very interesting. Oh, and that Segrist being held up in the pit lane. Something's going on here.
I think maybe he was just being held. It's hard to say. Yeah, maybe. sometimes the pit boxes can be a little bit glitchy in this. One of the areas maybe that hopefully can be improved as we move to the new generation consoles will be the pit stops. I think it's one of the more frustrating parts of a race because it's out of your control.
Aerofist is off. Aerofist is off. Sorry about the interruption there, but Aerofist is off the track. He spun at turn 3. Looks like he almost spun in the walls. Oh, he's making more contact with Segrist.
Oh,
Segrist
and
around.
Aerofist then will be taking a little bit of a slack for that after the race. He rejoined the track dangerously. He's now ruined not only his own but Segrist's race. So the only thing we can hope for maybe for those two drivers is the late safety car to bring them back into it, but not what Segrist needed, as he loses another position now to Stanley. And the leader, Flying Jippo, is in the pits now. Intent follows him closely.
MH9 just got past Intent. Oh no, that wasn't Haas. That was the other Haas of Gold Raider. Sorry.
As Gold Raider gets a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Great, no problem for Flying Jippo, in and out of the pits. No time lost. M9H Racing now inherits the lead of this race. Flying Jippo looks like he's going to come out and retain P2, so that is an incredible stint he has put in. It just shows what a commanding race he has had so far. Intent will retain P3. Gold Raiders into the pits as well. He will have lost a bit of time coming in so close to Intent behind him. But other than that, we now have the front three. ISRL Knight has really brought himself into this race. He was kind of in no man's land. He came in and pitted early for those mediums, but has used that undercut to his advantage. Now if he can stick to the back of Intent, use Intent's natural pace, he may be in for a great finish yet in this race.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to see how that works out for him. I'm really excited to see what he can pull off when it comes to the final few laps of this race, what position he'll be in when it comes to the very last lap. So really interesting to see how that works out. Really quick, wanted to mention Chargers and Fuzzlium. Very interesting strategy they went for. And I'm really impressed. They went for the massive undercut, and of course Aerofist and Segrist were dropped a lot of positions after the contact they made. But even before that, they jumped the Red Bull and the Mercedes. The Ferrari Racing Point drivers really went up some positions. They really made that undercut work, so that really helps out a lot of drivers. So maybe drivers going for that two-stop strategy, I doubt they will. Maybe looking for that undercut strategy. So really interesting to see how that worked out.
Yeah, I mean, the soft to medium is relatively easy to do around here. They're not going to lose too much time, you know, on a lap holder tyre, especially around Silverstone. We were saying earlier, not many heavy traction zones, not many heavy braking zones. A lot of it is flat out, and it's just carrying speed to those corners. So if you're confident, if you've got a setup that is easy on your tyres. Sector 2, who's off? It is a McLaren. It's TCR Jones.
Yeah, Jones is off the track. Looks like it was turn 6, I do believe, just after the blue. Oh, he spun again. Looks like he may be going, maybe having some issues, with traction control there. So he's having some issues there. He's down in 18th position at turn 6.
Yeah, Flying Jippo almost lost it on the exit at turn 6, so managed to catch it. Intent, the gap kind of seems to be staying steady now around that 6-second mark. It really feels like Flying Jippo is just controlling this race. He's got plenty of VRS. I think he's just making sure those tires don't overheat, and that if any safety car comes out, he's in a prime position to make the most of it. And a safety car, TCR Jones. Okay, that completely changes this race. M9H Racing has just come into the pit. This has made his race.
Perfect.
Yeah, you could not have scripted that at a better time for him. So, as we said, unfortunately, all those who started on the alternate strategy, they had to pit early for damage, and they've really lost out now because M9H Racing was the lead driver on the mediums. Anyone behind him would have come in and would have stayed in that top 10 and had the tyre advantage towards the end. So this has worked out great for him. While we have this quick break, let's see where everybody is now in this race. Their positions gained and lost so far. So M9H Racing is going to come out. He's going to come out just behind Chargers. So he was gained 10 positions so far. Obviously, Flying Jippo started P1. He is P1. So very commanding race so far. We've got a lot of guys into the pits now, putting on fresh mediums towards the end. So they won't have too much of a tyre advantage for some people who started on the hards or started on mediums and came on to softs. I'm not sure anyone's going to go onto softs, to be honest. I don't think the softs will be able to do that. Oh, and as I say that, I'm proven wrong. Fuzz, Joshua and Seagrease to all go onto the soft tyres. So I guess they're hoping that the couple of laps under the safety car and the light fuel load will really extend those softs to be able to do those probably 11 laps that they're going to need to do at full pace towards the end of this race.
That's very risky by the drivers going on the soft tires. I mean, it is possible you can go to the end, but yeah, 12 laps, about 11, 12 laps. Could you do that? Now, it's a possibility, yeah, but honestly, actually, it's okay. It's actually okay because you can't really depend. You can't really know when the safety car's coming out, so you have to take advantage of whatever lap it is. So honestly, it works. It does work for those soft tires if you take them for as long as you can. I think the best thing that you can do if you're on the soft tires, so like Fuzz, Liam, Mr. Joshua, all that sort of thing. What they're going to have to do is conserve those tires, at least for about 3 laps. That's kind of what they're going to have to do. So what I would do, push the laps for as much as you can. Push those tires until about lap 23, I want to say, and then start conserving those tires as much as possible to the end of the race. And I think that's exactly what those soft runners are going to do.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you have to use the tire advantage while you have it, and that's early in this stint. So those guys need to make up those moves early, then they need to open up any sort of gap that they can to those drivers behind them. M9H Racing is in a great position because if he can get a good getaway, if he can get past Chargers and Intent and maybe even Flying Jippo, for the next 4 or 5 laps he's going to have a pretty clear pace advantage on these guys. And if he can get outside that DRS zone and then coming down to the final part of the race, if Intent, Flying Jippo and Chargers are all battling, this race may very well fall into M9H Racing's hands here. Other than that, Fuzz, Joshua, Seagrease, we're going to see a lot of action now in this final part of the Grand Prix as everybody from about P6 to P14, P15, even, I guess the whole way down the grid, they're going to be scrambling and fighting for those last points paying positions, and anything can happen. All it takes is a little bit of contact, someone to run wide, someone to spin, and you know your race can go from not very good to a great race, or the opposite way very quickly.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out, because I mean, like you said, almost the entire grid has a chance for points here, and that's what makes it so interesting when it comes to these safety cars. It's like you have these safety cars come out, and then you have these incredible fighting spirits in some of these drivers. It's like, okay, let's go, let's get a good result, let's be able to challenge the top guys. And I mean, like, drivers like Ben Swerve and Bam Bam can challenge for points now. They have a chance to challenge you for points. I mean, like before, they weren't able to do so because they were so far behind, like 17 seconds behind. So it's the safety cars brought in something new to this challenging pack. So everyone, make sure you don't go away from the screen because it's going to be a mad race when it comes to these final few laps.
So, what was your prediction for top 3 again? I think you've got it pretty good so far. It was Jippo, Intent, and M9H Racing, was it not?
I do believe I put it as Intent, Jippo, and then Stanley. I could have been wrong.
Oh yes, yes, you did say that.
Almost like there, but I mean,
yeah.
Like, you never know. I mean, like Stanley, I've seen him in many different leagues just come out of nowhere in these crazy positions. I mean, I remember him was like 13th position, and he could just be in 4th position with one lap, you know. So Stanley's got the pace, and I think many drivers on this grid have the pace to be able to fight for good positions. I mean, like, I'd say the bottom 17 have a chance for top 9 to finish, honestly. I mean, like, that kind of seems like a little bit like, oh, that's too far. Like, Ben Swerven's going to be able to get to the top 9. Definitely think he could. I mean, like, there's bunches, like you said. There could be one mistake, and that causes an entire crash. I mean, like, just look at Magello. I think last week, there was that crazy crash in the restart, and there was like 4 or 5 cars out of the race, so that could definitely happen here. Charger was off the track at turn 4, that is.
Maybe,
but,
maybe he was just avoiding losing his front wing, but yeah, what is great about the rest of this race, we essentially have, you know, we're going to have 10 laps of racing. It's essentially the sprint races that we see in F2, but everybody is just going to be scrambling for positions, and this is where racecraft really pays over pace. to be honest, it's going to be very hard for anybody other than Flying Jippo to show their true pace, because there's going to be so much going on in front of you. You're going to be so aware of who's braking where, you know, who's on a fresher set of tires, who isn't on a fresh set of tires, who's going to be a little bit slower out the corners. So it's going to be some great racing up and down the field, and I think it'll be a great opportunity for some who may not have the outright pace to show their racecraft and to show their expertise in these wheel-to-wheel situations and show us what they can do.
Yeah, it's going to be very unpredictable when it comes into these safety car restarts. So, yeah, like you said, I mean, like, we're going to see a lot of drivers just going for those risky moves. And I mean, like, it's going to be really interesting to see how this plays out when it comes to probably this lap. Safety car will probably come in this lap. And also something else I want to mention is Flying Jippo. I mean, like, okay, so he's leading the race. He's got to be able to control the pack and get a good line, because he's got fast drivers of Intent, Chargers, M9H, Aerofist, all those drivers behind him, the entire grid behind him. So he's got to be able to put the pace in his hands to be able to get a good result out of that line that he takes. So where is he going to probably go in? Where is he going to probably start the race?
And Flying Jippo now is the way, and we're back to green flag racing as he heads down into the final chicane, and he's got a pretty good run. Intent seems to be lagging behind him a small bit. He gets a good run off that final corner, and we are back racing. We've got movement down the field already. Fuzz, ISRL Knight all battling. Big gap now from ISRL Knight to Gold Raider, which kind of separates the front six from the rest of the pack at the minute.
And Red Wing's losing a lot of positions. He may have damage, because look at this, he's lost almost 5 positions from P9, I believe. So he's down to 13, so a massive problem there. So we also have a move between the M9H and Chargers going down into turn 6, and a little bit of contact even.
Yeah, it's a tough area to make a move, but he does have the inside line. He's the fresher tires, much more grip, should be able to accelerate much quicker out this corner, and that seems like an easy move for M9H Racing. Of course, DRS will not be available for the first couple of laps, so M9H Racing needs to use this opportunity now to get right on the back of Intent, make sure he is in that DRS zone. As Chargers and M9H Racing are going sides, yeah, risky, and that's M9H Racing with that move done, and I expect to see him now pull away from Chargers and pull up on the back of Intent pretty quickly. Those soft tires should have a lot of grip in them now early on in this stint. Next battle though, Fuzz is in he's the first of the soft runners bar M9H Racing, so let's see what kind of impact he can make now lower in this race. He's got Segrist and Joshua right behind him, Accio doing a good job as well on those mediums. Accio just needs to hang on to Joshua, allow Joshua's soft tire pace to pull Accio along with him, and then as those soft tires go off towards the end of this race, that's when Accio is going to have the opportunities to move back up those positions and back into the high points paying positions. Fuzz doesn't seem to be putting ISRL Knight under too much pressure so far though. That M9H Racing still 2 seconds behind Intent, so that gap isn't closing either, so not too much, not as exciting a restart as we would have hoped for, but it's good to see that everybody made it through cleanly, and we've got 9 more laps for people to make their moves now, and maybe take a little more of a patient approach, wait for the DRS and really start making those moves then.
I think Intent is throwing in all the bags right now. He is going for it. He's going to leave an overtake on those little straights that just come up. I think he's just trying to close up the Flying Jippo, so the race is not over. It's actually far from over, with many drivers still looking for some good moves. And that is M9H off the track at, it looks like that is Maggott Beckett's turn 14, I do believe.
Yeah, I don't know, I just came onto the scene just after he spun. I don't know if Arif then made contact with him or if he just lost it, but that is heartbreaking to see M9H Racing. Had everything go perfect from in this race and then just lost it, and he's now running, looks like he's going to be last as Red Wing Racing is coming up to the back of him. But as we were saying, DRS is now enabled. Flying Jippo and Intent are going all out. Flying Jippo is trying to pull that gap. He's using quite a lot of ERS, and Intent is doing the same, trying to match him, because Intent knows if he allows Flying Jippo to break that DRS, break that 1 second DRS that's needed, it's going to be hard to pull him back in. We already seen in this race Flying Jippo having the pace over Intent, and unfortunately, it does seem like Flying Jippo is slowly pulling away. He has the ERS advantage. He just seems to be so comfortable around this track all day long now. He's been at the top of that time in charts all throughout qualifying, and since the first lap, he seems to, have just driven away with this race, and it's great to see such commanding performance from our our drivers' championship leader at the minute.
Yeah, he's really performing very well, and you were saying as well, he looks like he's really comfortable with this track. I think he really is, because I mean, look at the lines he's taking. He's super smooth on what exact corners to go, and his confidence in just putting on the accelerator pedal, make sure that he's within the lines is absolutely incredible. So you don't see that very much in league racing. So Flying Jippo really pressurizing that win. He's really coming off of intent and leading this race throughout. So hopefully he can continue that. On intent, he's losing about a tenth of a second, to Flying Jippo. So very interesting to see how that works out. Intent still has the pace. I think he's managing ERS at the moment. So we'll have to see how that goes. A huge battle at the moment from third at the moment between Chargers, Aerofist, Gold Raider, Knight, and now even Fuzzliam and Segrist. And Stanley now too has joined the party. So major battle
and
for third.
All the way down to Ben Swerve, and they are all in that DRS train. The whole way from 13th to 3rd, all separated by less than a second in between each car. So, as we were saying, this is the crossover time is coming now as those softs start to lose a bit of their edge. But it's going to be interesting to see now what everybody does. Who's going to choose to throw caution to the wind and make a few risky moves, try and put a few people off. I'm looking to Fuzz as the first on those soft tyres to really start making a dent in this race. He needs to get past ISRL Knight and Gold Raider pretty quickly, as Gold Raider now is losing a small bit of touch to Aerofist Zen, who should, and Chargers seems to have a straight line advantage. Maybe he's running quite a low downforce setup, which is what you need to stay in front here, as DRS is very powerful. But he seems to be doing a pretty good job so far, just keeping Aerofist Zen behind him, although Aerofist Zen is doing a great job saving his ERS, so it may not be too long before we see Aerofist Zen take that final podium position off Chargers. But up front, Intent and Flying Jippo have checked out, and Intent is doing a pretty good job of keeping the gap below 2 seconds. Just kind of hoping maybe Flying Jippo slips up or maybe overheats those tyres a little bit. I wouldn't hold out too much hope, as Segrist has had enough of waiting for Fuzz to make the moves on those softs. Segrist has said it's his turn, and he's going to make a move now and see if he can't put some pressure on ISRL Knight and Gold Raider up ahead of him.
Yeah, that Mercedes car, Segrist just went past Fuzzliam, and what a move you were saying. I mean, he's already challenging now Knight. So after Segrist having some issues with Aerofist, actually, he's challenging back up the field and trying to get back up to his rival, who's actually just ahead, about only a second ahead. So this battle between these two drivers is actually not over. Stanley also makes a move on Fuzzliam there, so he's also making up a lot of positions. Now Fuzzliam is in a Renault sandwich, so really interesting to see how that plays out. And then also Aerofist using the DRS, but I'm very surprised he's not using the ERS. That's really interesting. I think he's just kind of waiting to make that move on Chargers. So interesting strategy, and that actually might very well play out for him.
Yeah, I think it would seem to me that he knows that 1 and 2 have checked out. He knows that he's not going to win those places. He's allowing Chargers to lead that train, use his fuel, use his ERS. There's no need for Aerofist to be in third until lap 26, and maybe that's how he's looking at it. Maybe he wants to use that final DRS straight, use up all his ERS, and just, take that position when he needs it. As Segrist,
down the inside,
and lucky not to get too much damage there, and not even more lucky not to lose the car. It's very easy to lose the car there. It's at slow speeds, these cars are just so clumsy and so easy to lose the balance of, as you lose all downforce and you really just rely on the mechanical grip then. Segrist, see if he can't get a good run here through and try and make up a couple moves, a couple places here now on ISRL and Gold Raider. Gold Raider, Sector 2, who's off? You having a giggle, I believe.
That is, yeah, you having a giggle there in the Alfa Romeo down in 16th place. Love Fuel, I believe, took 7. losing a lot of time there, so he's probably going to be not scoring some points, but you never know. And they're battle for 5th right now. Sorry to interrupt.
No problem. Segrist now gets a great run. He's going to take the position from ISRL Knight. ISRL Knight gives him a little squeeze. Nothing too outrageous. And Segrist seems to make that move pretty easy. ISRL Knight is keeping the nose in, but and that's a big dive bomb from ISRL Knight. And he makes it stick. Or does he? No, Segrist back up.
Knight almost loses out. Stanley loses up to 7th.
Yeah, that was a little bit of a risky move by Knight. It was a big dive bomb, so unfortunate for him. He lost a lot while he was going to make an overtake. He lost a place, which is so easy to do. Segrist now really trying to get the most out of these soft tires. It probably could have done with these overtakes coming in a lap or two earlier while he still had a bit more of a tire advantage. I'm starting to get the feeling now that the mediums are faring a little bit better, and they will have a little bit more pace the longer this Grand Prix goes on, as we've got 4 laps now to the checker flag. Intent slowly dropping back. Flying Jippo absolutely commanding this race. Great performance from him, and as we've seen so far, incredibly consistent, incredibly fast, and he deserves to be on top of the Drivers' Championship right now. Behind him then Intent, Chargers 5 seconds further down the road with Arrowfist behind him, and let's see if Arrowfist doesn't decide to make a little move here. He's much further back though on this occasion. He does use a little bit of overtake just to close down that gap, but Chargers again should be leading Arrowfist through to the next lap. Gold Raider behind him. Segrist really making great moves now. He's made up a lot of positions in the last few laps, and it looks like Gold Raider has fallen into his clutches here.
The thing is, though, is the Segrist does have barely enough ERS to get past. I've been monitoring their ERS deployment system. Gold Raider, Segrist, and Stanley all have barely about 11% to even 9%. So really interesting to see if they're going to be battling it out. And then Arrowfist really managing his ERS very well today. So I think he's just kind of playing it out. But right now is where he's got to get that move on Chargers. And I think the best place he can make the move is into turn 15, but he's actually looking to make the move around the outside of left field into turn 7. Now pinches that racing point, but can't make the move quite yet. And that's Alpha off. Knight out. That's Knight out.
And Knight has spun out, and let's see if that brings out the safety car. Nothing so far, so let's hope. I think maybe with 3 laps left, the game will be reluctant to throw out the safety car. So I'm expecting now this just to return to green flag throughout the track. Great train here all the way down. Chargers, Arrowfist, Gold Raiders, Segrist, Stanley now all battling for 3rd position. So this is going to go right to the wire. Any little slip up now will cost you 3-4 positions from Chargers. So he needs to drive a perfect race from here on out to make sure he stays on that podium.
And Segrist is going to make the moves. He's got to do it quickly. I think he probably should have gone with the dive bomb. He was a little bit closer to Gold Raider, but unfortunately was not. Segrist has been really outstanding in this race. Really confident on every single line he's been taking. A little bit different than anyone else I've been seeing. So very interesting. He's like thinking of the long game here. I think he's thinking of like, okay, if I could go in here, kind of take the move. So he's really thinking that, I think, and it's really interesting to see his driving style. And also Stanley's right behind him as well, so he's probably thinking that might be an issue as well. So this battle is continuing out. And Arrowfist just can't quite get Chargers. Do you have an idea of maybe why he can't get past Chargers? Maybe it's because of ERS, tire management? What's your thoughts on that?
We saw earlier that he had the ERS advantage. Maybe he waited his, maybe he was playing the long game and now he's missed his opportunity. But it could also be that Chargers is just running a lower downforce setup. So while Arrowfist then might be quicker through the lap, where he needs to be, he isn't quicker. In Maggots and Beckett's, you've got to be incredibly brave to make a move there. Most people try and get a good run through. We'll see him here now. He's using overtake. He has DRS, and he just isn't closing up to Chargers as much as you would expect. Chargers not even happen to use overtake there, so that does not bode well for Arrowfist coming into this final lap. But then he seems to be keeping Gold Raider in check, who seems to be keeping Segrist in check. So maybe it just is a little bit of the DRS train. Although Chargers not having DRS, you would expect that to be a little bit easier, so my guess would be a much lower downforce setup.
setup can really, really increase the chances of power. I mean, like, I remember I was racing in a race earlier, and I had a low downforce setup, and the driver behind, he had DRS and still couldn't catch up to me.
Yep.
And it was all because of that low downforce. So I think that's kind of where Aerofist is going here, but we also have to think about that Charge Resistance. He does have a lot of DRS compared to Aerofist. Now they've kind of had the same, but Aerofist's got to make the move now because it's the last lap.
Yeah, and I mean, still Aerofist all the way to Stanley, separated by just a couple of seconds. Seagrease and Stanley getting quite feisty back there. They're probably the closest at the minute as Stanley looks to move up into P6 and grab those points. Golden Raider does seem to be losing touch with Aerofist then though, so maybe without that slipstream he could be under attack here from Seagrease.
And Seagrease goes wide there, Stanley all back.
Yeah, and that does. Although here we see now the DRS train, just nobody being able to make a move on each other. As Flying Jippo should be coming across the line. We're going to see Flying Jippo win this British Grand Prix, extend his lead at the top of the Drivers' Championship. Intent following shortly behind him. And then Chargers, Aerofist, and Golden Raiders, Seagrease, Stanley. Oh, and obviously Golden Raider had a 5-second time penalty, so that drops him to P10, almost out of the points paying positions. Moves Stanley up to P6, Joshua up to P7, Accio up to P8, Fuzz to P9, and then Golden Raider finishes the top 10. Below Gold Raider then we have Bam Bam finished in P11, Ben Swerve in P12, RC7 in 13, M9H Racing, who of course had a great race up until spinning maybe with a quarter of the race left, so that was a tough one for him to take. You having a giggle mate, and Red Wing Racing, who I think had a connection issues and dropped out for a lot of this race. So slightly anticlimactic race there. We had a lot of guys, right in and amongst each other, but just unfortunately with the DRS train unable to make any moves. But we saw a lot of great racing. We'll hopefully get a chance to chat to our top three here now. Flying Jippo, brilliant race, start to finish, pretty much from the start of qualifying. He lit up the time and charts, grabbed pole, led away the race, never looked under any threat, broke outside that DRS zone. Safety car restart, not a problem, and that is him on top of the podium, and a comfortable victory for him today, I think he would say.
I definitely think he was able to get a good result here today, and I'm really impressed by that as well. I mean, impressed by all our drivers, actually. They did an incredible job, especially managing those strategies, those safety cars. Really played into a super exciting race, and yeah, really look forward to also seeing our top three up here as well. I'm going to see if I can get them in here. It looks like since I left the party to deal with some connection issues, it looks like I'm unable to invite the players, so you might have to invite the players.
I just did it there, so that they should be, hopefully they'll join us now, but we'll run down the time on screen here just before the end. So Flying Jippo P1, Intent P2, Flying Jippo importantly got the fastest lap as well, as Flying Jippo joins us here in our party. Congratulations Flying Jippo. Pole, fastest lap, led every lap of the race pretty much. It's got to be a pretty good day in the office for you today.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Alright, cool. Yeah, man, it was great. Honestly, probably one of the best races ever in TCR. I'm shocked. Intent, you really got me pushing there, man. Oh my god. So I'm incredibly happy, and more points to the championship, and fastest lap as well. So great.
Flying Jippo, just before I get you to go any further, could you just turn up your microphone a small bit, as you're quite hard to hear on the stream, and we'll get your thoughts on the race then, and the same to the other two guys. Just make sure your mics are up full blast. It might seem a little bit over the top, but it just means everyone can hear you clearly on stream. So yeah, Flying Jippo, I have to say, an incredible performance. It never looked under any threat to you today. Is Silverstone a track you're just comfortable at, or do you just feel that finally a race went your way? Obviously you are top of the championship at the minute, but should we expect this kind of performance from you every week, or do you think maybe Silverstone was a track that was the strong suit for you, or you just kind of coming into your own rhythm now?
Silver is definitely one of my most tracks on the calendar. I've just always done well here. I won silver class, and I was doing well last year's golden race. But I mean, I'll do win more races if I can. The competition's really tight, especially from the Team Mercedes and Intense. It's really close. So yeah, I'd love to, but I just need to see how the rest of the races go.
Absolutely. Any questions from you, Broom?
Oh yeah, I just want to say, like, what an incredible job you really did here today. I also noticed that you were able to fix your strategy in a great way to keep intent behind, and as well, your consistency during the race was really impressive. It looked like you were able to kind of put down the power before you even knew what the corner was coming, but you just knew it was there in your mind. So I just wanted to ask you how you kind of did that, how you kind of managed your dealing with driving and just holding intent behind, all that sort of thing.
Well, just trying to keep calm. Really, I get sometimes ahead of myself, and that's where I used to make mistakes. But I've really tried to perfect that over the coming years, and just dealing with the pressure. That's the main thing. And of course, it comes with experience. I've been league racing for 3 years maybe, so it's just experience and learning to cope with the pressure. That's what I'd say.
Well, you did an incredible job here today, so yeah, just a phenomenal job. And you also extend your World Championship lead as well in gold class, so really hope that you can continue that when we go to the next track.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm happy with that. But Intent, once again, I just gotta call you out here, man. That was an incredible race. You really put me under pressure. Those after safety car, man, I was sweating. So good race, and look forward to racing you in the future.
Alright, thanks Flying Jippo. Yeah, full 26 points for a day's work is usually a pretty good day, so I think you've earned yourself a nice relaxing evening now, and maybe go back and watch that race and just admire how in control you were, because it was very, very encouraging to see from our end, so congratulations once again. So Intent, we will come to you, finishing in second. Great race, you showed your pace again today. We were saying you've had a rough, a bit of bad luck since your first race where you won. It's just great to see you up again on the podium. How do you think the race went for you today, and why do you think Flying Jippo was just able to keep you kind of at an arm's length today?
Well, I mean, Flying Jippo has really mastered their new ABS. This league's like the first time that I kind of forced myself to quit using it, so I'm still trying to get used to it a little bit.
Well done.
I was one of those guys that's like, absolutely addicted to using ABS. So. I'm still struggling a little bit with that, but
yeah. If that's the case, I mean, you got to be very happy with your performances, because you're right up there with the best of them. Flying Jippo definitely is showing that. So you definitely have the pace, and it'll only be a matter of time before it just becomes second nature. And it's scary to think what kind of pace you will have a couple of months down the line. Other than that, you got to be happy with P2. Are you hoping now to be on the podium more consistently for the rest of the season, or do you feel like there's some areas that you need to improve on, and you just need a little bit of luck every now and then to get up there?
Well, I mean, I think one of the biggest changes I made today is I waited a lap after I waited to pit until I knew that I wasn't going to get thrown back in the 10th place, basically. Get stuck behind people.
Okay.
And cause less interactions, because I commonly have issues, trying to rush and get around people when I know I'm racing that PI.
Yeah, I mean that is a big thing, especially around Silverstone, where you can be patient. You can extend that first stint, and you can make sure you get clear air, because clear air is so key. I mean, yeah, it showed, especially with the safety car restart. You want to be up at the front. You don't want to be caught in that slipstream. We were watching the race from P4 down to about P10. There was less than a second between each car, but no one could really seem to make a move. So it seemed that strategy was key today, and yourself and Flying Jippo both made the most of it.
Yeah, I just followed Flying Jippo when you went in the pit. So I noticed that I was going to drop back to third or fourth, I think it said, and I was like, yep, that's it. Because the lap before it said, pit and rejoin in 10 or 9. I was like, okay, can't do that.
Yeah, always always a good thing to do is follow the leader into the pits. They usually know what they're doing, so.
Exactly.
Any comments from you, Broomhandle?
Well, I just want to say good job as well, Intent. Second place. I do believe this is your second time actually finishing in Golden Class. Of course, you won that first race and had to take a podium once again. How does it feel to take that podium? And I think End of the World also asked this as well. How does it feel to possibly be back in this chance of getting the championship? Do you have any thoughts of maybe going even further? Is your plans maybe to challenge for that championship now that you have this confidence boost from taking that podium here?
Oh, definitely. I mean, it is a, you're never happy with second. If you have a chance of getting first, you're going to try, or at least try your best. So, one of the things I was doing is, I would run no ABS in these races and go back to the other leagues and run ABS. So I fully switched over, as of like a few days ago, where I'm just going to try and just grind it out and figure it out. And hopefully, be able to compete with Jippo eventually. Because, I mean, he's just, 2/10, 3/10 faster than me every lap.
Well, I think it's basically just getting that consistency, making sure that you're able to keep up with him, stay within those DRS lines, all that sort of thing. And I definitely think you will be able to pressurize Jippo and possibly even overtake him to challenge him for the championship. Because it looks like both of you have the pace, especially proved here today. So hopefully that can continue on throughout the rest of this championship.
Yeah, I was trying extremely hard to get into DRS, Jippo. Like, whenever DRS activated, I had like 10 ERS.
Yeah, I know. I could tell. I was really trying to push to get out of that DRS. So.
Yeah, it was close, man. I was like 1.1 seconds when it activated. I was like, get up there, and now he's going to get me.
Yeah, I mean, both you drove an incredible race, and I think you can both be very happy with your performance. And moving forward, you're definitely going to be two of my ones to watch every time out in the gold class. You've shown it now over the first 5 rounds. Now, it's incredible to think we're that far into the season, but you have the pace, and now it's just about consistency, racecraft, and ultimately that little bit of luck. Obviously, we had M9H Racing today, who got so lucky with that safety car, but unfortunately did lose the car. But it is crazy how races can be made like that. So, best of luck to the two of you going forward. Let's hope we see plenty more battles from both of you. I don't know if Chargers is in this group. Did he come in or?
It says he's still in the lobby. So did we send him an invite?
I'll get him there.
It should be in the suggested party thing.
Gotta say though, shout out to Golden.
He did really well, yeah. Another driver to get a good result in this race. Unfortunately, he didn't actually get the good result, but had the pace.
But I was happy to see him up there.
I definitely have to agree with you. I mean, I did a great job in today's race. And of course, I do believe he's a teammate as well, so hopefully get a good result.
Definitely.
Looks like we got, oh sorry, Intent, I cut you off there. Alright.
So Chargers just joined us here, finished P3 today. Pretty good race, you got to be happy with P3. You were able to hold off, I can't remember who, S10 behind you today, and we were just making the comment that it seemed that you had a lot more straight line speed. Is it that you were running a low downforce setup, or were you just getting a much better run out of those corners, do you think?
I don't think it was really a low downforce setup. I think I was just getting a good run onto the DRS straight, so it was helping me keep in front of them. But yeah, that was my first race of the season. I finally feel like it went well. Yeah, I did good in qualifying, which got myself up a bit more and past races, so I had a practice, and especially here when it's really hard to pass anybody. And then yeah, that last stint, I had a battle with M9H on the softs at the beginning, and that kind of really came with ERS, so I was pretty low on ERS the rest of that stint. So I was trying to save ERS while defend at the same time, so it was pretty much just trying to use the ERS straights when I had enough to defend and ended up working out. So yeah, I'm really happy about getting third. I definitely picked up the top two today. They were really good.
Yeah, they did seem to check out, but then you did some great driving and under great pressure, because I'm not sure how aware you are of what's going on behind you, but all the way down to 7th or 8th in that last lap were all within a couple of seconds of you. And not to say that you were the cork in the bottle there, but obviously you had no DRS, so being able to keep all of those guys behind you just showed some great racing. And as you were saying, it's just getting those good exits at those vital corners, and it just shows, you know, it shows some great racecraft and some great understanding of the race behind you. Were you aware of how close the next 5-6 drivers were behind you towards those last laps, and how nervous were you coming down to those last laps, or not nervous? You know, were you quite relaxed, and was that what the key to maintaining that podium finish?
Yeah, I saw them on the mini map that it was kind of turning into the DRS train.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't like really nervous or anything. Just kind of doing the whole race. Just trying to keep getting those good exits onto the straights. I knew if I did that, which was just 2 DRS straights, you couldn't ever take it anywhere else.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed that you just had it locked down. So it's very well done. Congratulations, and a good podium finish for yourself today. I'm not sure if Broom has anything to say.
I did for a little bit. Chargers, what a great result you had today. I just kind of want to say that. And congrats on the P3. How does that feel? You're up into the top 3 for Racing Point F1. Of course, this is their home Grand Prix, so you must be pretty happy with that as well. And how does it also feel to hold off so many drivers? I think Aerofist was the biggest driver that you're holding off. Lap after lap after lap, you were lap after lap, sorry. You were able to hold off the Red Bull driver to be able to take P3. How did that feel, kind of under pressure, or was it more like I got this in the bag, or I kind of felt like, I don't know, what's your thoughts on that?
I mean, I didn't feel like it was like ever completely like out of the question who would overtake me, but I mean, like I said, if I was just, if I was getting those good exits and I had enough DRS to defend myself on straight, that would be okay. I think he might have a little bit more pace than me, but we were pretty close on stage, I think.
And what's your thoughts on the rest of this championship? Do you think you have a really good chance of possibly even challenging for the World Championship here in Golden Class Season 10?
I mean, yeah, I'd like to. I mean, I probably have a little bit of things to go still to get to that level at this point, but yeah, that's where I'll eventually want to be for sure.
Well, good luck for the rest of the season. We hope to see you get these good results like this, and even more possibly later on throughout the rest of the season.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
Okay, well, I think that's going to wrap up from us here at TCR for the Golden Class at the British Grand Prix, which is a great Grand Prix today. We had a safety car, we had a few incidents on track, so it's definitely one to check out, and it bodes well for the rest of the season. Obviously, Flying Jippo and Intent putting down a great marker today to show why they are 2 of the best in this class. Make sure you join us back here tomorrow at 8:15 for the Platinum class. We have a 100% race around Britain, which I'll be taking part in. Not looking forward to the sore arms after it, but it'll be a great experience, and it'll hopefully be plenty interesting, and hopefully we'll have some nice tight battles on that track. And a lot of strategy will come into play, and a lot can happen in 52 laps around Silverstone. So we'll be back tomorrow. Hopefully we'll see you then. And any last words from yourself, Broom Handle, before we check out this evening?
Not much, just really excited that I was able to be here with these fantastic drivers and a great race we've actually seen today. I mean, like, all the crazy strategies coming in, the holding off every single driver, the safety cars, all that sort of thing. It really played out for every single one of these drivers here today, and it really was a thrill to be here. And yeah, I just want to say thank you so much for having me on TCR, and also thank you so much for letting me commentate with you and the world. Big pleasure.
Pleasure as always.
Of course, yeah. I just want to quickly mention something real quick. I don't know if you want to do this, but we got to mention our sponsor real quick, Fanatec. Give them a big shout out, all that sort of thing. And yeah, not much to say. Really, just see us next time for Platinum Class, same time, of course, tomorrow, Thursday. And of course, like End of the World said, it's going to be a 100% race, so it's going to be a thriller as well. So yeah.
So yeah, we're back for Platinum Class tomorrow, and then every Tuesday Silver Class 8:15, Wednesday Golden Class 8:15, and Thursday Platinum Class at 8:15. Make sure you like and subscribe to all of our YouTube, social media channels to keep up to date with it, and tune into our live streams. And we'll see you next time. Good night.